Thank you, Andy. Thank you very much to everybody. It is a very great pleasure to welcome Inigo Errejón. Inigo is perhaps not as well known to English audiences or UK audiences as he would be in Spain. We met last night and Inigo said it was incredibly pleasant to be able to have a beer and not have somebody taking a photograph or insisting upon a selfie, or alternatively simply taking a photograph to send to the media to show that Inigo was not doing his job but was enjoying a beer. And this would then appear perhaps on the front page of a Spanish newspaper condemning the populists for not working hard enough and for being lazy, etc., etc. I met Inigo earlier last year in Buenos Aires at a conference on the politics of populism, but we in fact invited Inigo to speak about politics and the good life. The reason for this is that the populist phenomenon in southern Europe is precisely making an argument that politics is not simply about the possibility of reproducing the conditions of existence, but raises the question of how one can live a decent life in opposition to the forms of austerity which we are all far too familiar with. Inigo finished his PhD at the University of Madrid, and he studied the politics of hegemony in Bolivia. He also spent some time in Latin America as an activist, but he had from a very young age, being an activist, a teenager he was telling me, being an activist in Spain. When he returned to Spain, it was just at the beginning of the Indignados movement, and apparently he was very jet-lagged and felt that he couldn't go to sleep, so he had to stay awake. And the story he tells me is he said to a friend, "Do you think it's worthwhile going to this march? Is this just going to be one of those other protests where a couple of thousand people go on the streets, the police beat them up and they go back to bed?" And his friend said, "Well, I don't know." And Inigo then joined the march and very quickly realized that something extraordinary was happening in Spain. Inigo and a number of colleagues at the University of Madrid and activists around the country then began to try and think about what it would mean to take the politics of street into the institutions. And the consequence of that discussion, which took place over a period of time, was the founding of Podemos, an organization which was only founded officially in January of 2014. It's quite extraordinary if you think that just over 2 years later, Podemos is now engaged in negotiations with the old institutional Socialist Party about the formation of a government in order, in effect, to introduce new forms of politics in the south of Europe. As I said, it's a great pleasure. Inigo is both the political secretary for Podemos, he's also the spokesperson for Podemos in Parliament, and he's been leading the negotiations on behalf of Podemos with the Socialist Party. I'm sure he'll say something about this, although I suspect not too much can be disclosed at this stage. But I could not be happier to have anybody really speaking today, given the nature of politics in Europe. So it's a great pleasure to welcome Inigo and to hand over to him. There will be time for questions, so once Inigo's finished, I hope that all of you have questions about what is happening in Spain, but also about theoretical work, because Inigo's origin is in fact in studying forms of hegemony. So thank you, Inigo.
I wanted to start giving the thanks and expressing my gratitude to Mark, but also to Andy Knott and Michael New, and to the Political Studies Association, to the British Political Studies Association for the invitation, because it's actually an intellectual luxury to me to breathe like fresh air and to be out of the political everyday politics in Spain. I have a space for intellectual and academic discussion, which is my background and is the place I want to return when we finish these adventures, however it finishes at the end. I also wanted to say that I'm gonna make a combined perspective. I'm gonna try to make an explanation and a description of Spanish politics, taking Spain as a case study, and Podemos, the creation, the building of Podemos and the politics of Podemos in Spain as a case study, but from a theoretical background and theoretically informed. So it will be like a political description, but using some theoretical theoretical concepts or theoretical categories that I will summarize right now. And also because I'm thinking from this like shadow and strange place that mixes political activity and the trying of an intellectual reflection. And I say this because I know that those are like two completely different logics, and you have to speak with completely different words and to completely different publics. But I'm still convinced that this is the place where one has to be. I mean, the place that tries to combine the intellectual reflection with theoretical categories, but at the same time politically situated in a place with a compromise and talking from, making clear from the principle what is the place you're starting to talk or to explain from. No? I have to say that from my theoretical background and my academic background, I start from a understanding of politics that pays the attention or places the attention on the issue of the creating of meaning. To me, politics is very much about the creation and fights for the creations of meaning and the institutionalization of those meanings and of the distribution of different roles. So I will make my explanation of Spanish politics from this approach, from the approach of the fight, the discursive and narrative fight for the creation of meaning and how the things have changed from this perspective in Spain, and then how it has a reflection on the institution. But first, how culturally things change in Spain and open up a space for a new political agenda. So pretty much a qualitative approach. And saying this, I have to say that as a show of respect, and in order to be more precise on my explanation and on the categories that I want to make clear, I will use a translation. Please excuse me for that, but my current occupation doesn't allow me to practice the English that much, so I will switch into Spanish and use the translation for this. Comenzando voy poco a poco y como estoy. Vale. Comenzando por la situación española. Es muy conocido que en España tenemos una profunda crisis económica y social. Sin embargo, este no es el dato más importante.
Starting with the situation in Spain, it's very well known that in Spain there is a big economic and political crisis, but that's not what's most important.
Desde mi perspectiva, el dato más importante es que en España tenemos una profunda crisis de hegemonía y podríamos haber tenido crisis económica sin crisis de hegemonía y hoy viviríamos en el mismo orden que hace 10 o 20 años.
I think what's most important is that there is a crisis of hegemony, and we would have been able to have a crisis of economics without having a crisis of hegemony, and we would be in the exact same place as we were 20 years ago.
Eso significa fundamentalmente que la forma en la que la política funcionaba en España de forma muy estable durante los últimos 30 años ha llegado a un colapso.
That means that the way politics worked in Spain or had worked in Spain during the last 30 years has collapsed.
Definiría la hegemonía en 3 niveles. En un primer nivel, como la capacidad de un grupo concreto de conducir intelectual y moralmente un país, de proponer objetivos y metas legítimas.
I would define hegemony in 3 different levels. The first one, the ability of a country to define intellectual objectives,
de definir
define
metas y objetivos, para la sociedad, proponer un horizonte para
objectives for society, a horizon for society to look towards.
Haciendo pasar sus intereses particulares por los intereses del conjunto del país.
And making people think that their particular interests are the interests of the whole country.
En segundo lugar, como la capacidad de construir una alianza social entre grupos muy diferentes, de manera tal que incluso los grupos subordinados o subalternos tienen interés en pertenecer al conjunto.
The second one is to be able to build social interests in an alliance in which every single group thinks that there is a common goal.
Even when they are having a subordinate or subaltern position in the historical bloc. You don't have to say that. Y en tercer lugar, como la producción de un terreno o de unas nuevas reglas de la competición política.
And third, the production of new rules of competition, of political competition.
De forma tal que incluso los adversarios tienen que desafiar al poder de acuerdo con sus mismas reglas.
In a way that even adversaries have to challenge power according to their own rules.
Dos ejemplos muy sencillos de esto para ilustrarlo.
I'm going to give you two examples of this.
El primero, que es mucho más conocido por todos ustedes, es Margaret Thatcher diciendo que la creación política de la que se siente más orgullosa es el New Labour.
The first one is one you know very well, Margaret Thatcher saying that the creation that she feels the most proud about is the building labor, like creating labor.
No, the New Labour.
The New Labour, sorry.
Es decir, la capacidad de haber construido incluso al adversario, haber modificado las condiciones de competición política de forma tal que el adversario se acaba pareciendo más a uno mismo que a lo que era hace 10 años.
She was saying it to, as if she was able to actually create what was the adversary, like giving all the basic situations so that the adversary was created.
El otro ejemplo, en el otro espectro ideológico, en otro lugar del espectro ideológico, creo que son las nuevas derechas latinoamericanas.
The second example is the new right wing in Latin America.
Que son opciones conservadoras que han ganado elecciones y han llegado al poder haciendo suyas una buena parte de las palabras, los contenidos y las demandas que hicieron mainstream los gobiernos nacional populares o progresistas.
That had managed to get to power, making their own the demands of the populist governments before.
Esto es situaciones en las que el que gobierna o el que conduce no solo conduce o lidera, sino que construye las condiciones para que el que venga después se le parezca mucho.
This is a situation where the person who leads, the leader, creates the situation so that the people who come after him or her do very similar things.
Hubo un artífice de la Constitución post-pinochetista en Chile, Jaime Guzmán, que lo dijo muy claro, que lo dejó escrito de forma muy clara.
The post-Pinochet years, in the post-Pinochet years, there was someone who said it very clearly. Jaime Guzmán,
one of the fathers of the Constitution of Chile, saying the issue is to write a constitution that makes that even if the adversary wins, they will rule in a very similar way as we ourselves will do. Creo que hay I will say there is a crisis of hegemony in Spain for the first and for the second level, but not for the third. I mean, the traditional elites, the prestige of the traditional elites is totally collapsed in Spain. The historical bloc and the social alliance of the order, of the traditional order in Spain is collapsed, but still we are fighting the cultural and the political battle in the terrain, I don't know even if terrain is an English word, in the situation, in the political scenario that was created during the 30 years of political stability of the regime of 1978. I was like making applause just for me to translate myself. For the first element, or for the first point, the traditional political elites in Spain, they are not an icon, they are not a symbol of social progress anymore. People do not respect them. Mothers and fathers, they don't want their children to be like the traditional elites, so they don't represent a horizon of social advance or social progress for our country. I will say, right on the contrary, they are perceived as obstacle for the advancement or for the progress of the country. And that's a cross-cutting, a transversal feeling. Talking about the traditional elites of the center-right or talking about the traditional elites of the center-left, they are perceived as an obstacle for the advance of our country, even for their own voters, who still have this kind of cynical vote that, you vote for someone you don't trust, or you vote for someone but you don't expect very much about what they can do. At the same time, the traditional parties, their language and their representation or their explanations of what's going on in Spain, they don't offer a new horizon or new legitimate goals for our society. The traditional parties and the traditional institutions, they are not, they don't function anymore, they don't work anymore as the channels to transmit social demands to the political system. So it's been created una brecha, a cleavage, or a gap, in between the demands or the expectancies of the society and the responses of the political system. For the second level of hegemony, for the level of the historical bloc of the historical alliance, in Spain we're having two very important social facts that block this possibility. For the first, my generation is the first generation, I will say, in 4 or in 3 generations in the history of Spain that already knows positively that it's gonna live on worse conditions than the previous before. That's extremely important for the social confidence and the social trust in the institutions going on in our country. Because we're watching a collapse of that idea of a line of a progress which makes you, if you do your part in the social contract, you are going to have a better living than your parents or than your grandpa or your grandma. You're gonna receive a legacy of social advancement and social rights and protection from the state, but also individual possibilities for social mobility that give a meaning to political obedience. It plays the political obedience. You receive something in return for your political obedience, but that's not working anymore. If you ask whoever in Spain, it doesn't matter what do they vote for. They cannot tell you that they expect social mobility or they expect a better life. In a way, it's exactly the opposite. The social movement and the so-called Indignados movement that took place could be considered, not from an ideological point of view, but from a social point of view, a conservative movement. Was a movement to defend, not to conquer more, but to defend some of the conquests and some of the certainties and tranquility provided by the old social contract symbolically signed by our parents like 30 years ago. But for the third level, for that level of the terrain or of the landscape in which the political fight is taking place, I have to say we're still fighting or having the political fight in the narrative environment or in the narrative climate of the order of the 30 years before. So in a way, and I'm changing again to Spanish, nuestra comprensión de la contrahegemonía en Podemos
the way we understand counter-hegemony in Podemos
tiene que ver con un análisis muy concreto.
has to do with a very concrete analysis.
No es que nosotros hemos recibido 5 millones de votos en las elecciones, un 20%.
We got 5 million votes. It's a 20% of the voters.
No es que el 20% de la población española se haya vuelto radical.
It's not that 20% of the population in Spain turned radical.
Es que la ofensiva de los sectores oligárquicos en España ha hecho ha hecho que haya cuestiones que sean a la vez mainstream y radicales.
It is that oligarchy in Spain has done two things, that things turn both at the same time, radical and
Mainstream.
mainstream.
Y por tanto, la frontera que puede dibujar las identidades políticas en España se ha movido mucho, dejando a muchos sectores que confiaban en el orden, no me gusta la palabra, pero disponibles para un tipo de construcción política de sentido diferente.
So the limits, the frontier, the political limits of frontier have moved a lot, so it left a lot of people trusting in new sectors, new ways to do politics in a different way.
Una muy buena parte de lo que sucedió tiene que ver con la movilización política, cultural y social del 15 de mayo del movimiento de los indignados.
A part of what happened has to do with the mobilization of the indignados of the 15th of May.
Cuando me refiero al movimiento de los indignados, iba a decir no lo estudio, ya no lo estudio, pero no me refiero a él solo desde el punto de vista del número de gente que se movilizó.
When I talk about it, I don't mean the number of people that mobilized.
Creo que tuvo mucho mayor impacto también por los significados que puso en marcha o que desplegó en la sociedad española, que afectaron a mucha más gente de la que se movilizó.
I think it's more about the signifiers, what it created amongst the people in Spain that affected a lot more the actual people that got mobilized around them.
Diría que produjo fundamentalmente tres impactos en la política española.
I think it had three main impacts in the politics in Spain.
No cambió la correlación de fuerzas en el Estado, pero cambió el sentido común de nuestra época.
It didn't change the correlation of forces in the state, but it changed the sense of common sense of in our time.
En primer lugar, evitó que la frustración, el empobrecimiento y el enfado tuvieran un significado reaccionario.
It avoided for impoverishment and frustration to turn into something reactionary, to have a reactionary meaning.
Probablemente nosotros no tenemos un frente nacional como el francés o un UKIP como el británico porque tuvimos el movimiento de los indignados.
Maybe we don't have a national front like in France or UKIP like you do here because we had the Indignados movement.
Que politizó, y este es el segundo hecho, politizó una buena parte de los dolores sociales.
That politicized a big part of that social pain,
pero en un sentido democrático y popular y no reaccionario.
But in a democratic and popular sense, not in a reactionary one.
Esto es, dibujó un enemigo diferente, los de arriba y no los inmigrantes.
So it drew a different enemy, it's the elites, not the immigrants.
Le puso nombre y enmarcó una buena parte de los problemas que hasta entonces se vivían de forma individual.
It named and framed a big part of the problems that were lived in an individual way before.
Inglaterra está llena de jóvenes españoles que se han tenido que marchar de su país.
England is full of Spaniards, young Spaniards who had to leave their country.
Hace 10 años se iban porque creían que estaban viviendo una experiencia individual que tenían que vivir.
10 years ago they left because they thought they needed individually, it was the experience they were looking forward to.
La mayoría de ellos hoy sabe que se ha ido por culpa de unas políticas económicas injustas e ineficaces que tienen culpables.
Most of them know now that they left because of some economic policies that were unfair on them and that have for which there are very particular responsible people.
La segunda o la tercera aportación que hizo el movimiento 15 de mayo
The third thing that the movement of the 15th of May made
fue facilitar una situación populista en España.
was to facilitate a populist situation in Spain.
La gente acudía a las plazas como individuos con demandas o identidades muy fragmentadas.
People used to go to the squares as individuals with their own fragmented demands.
Y el movimiento y los significados que el movimiento puso en marcha
And the movement and the signifiers that the movement actually pushed forward
empezó a dibujar una brecha, una frontera radical entre aquellos que se turnaban en el poder y la gente común.
started to build a gap between those who turned into power and people of the common people.
Esa brecha inicialmente era solo una brecha negativa.
That gap was at the beginning just a negative one.
La gente de las plazas o de la calle era básicamente los que no eran los que mandan.
People in the squares and the streets were basically those who did not have the power.
Y la identificación era inicialmente negativa. No sabíamos muy bien quiénes éramos nosotros, pero sabíamos que no éramos ellos.
And the identification was at the beginning a bit negative, so we didn't know who we were, but we knew we were not them.
Y lo principal que teníamos en común es que no confiábamos en ellos y queríamos echarlos.
And the main thing we had in common was that we didn't trust them and we wanted to get rid of them.
Después, en 2 años, a una velocidad extrema, se ha ido a politizar, ya lo estaba, en 2 años y a una velocidad extrema, se ha ido cargando de sentido esa identidad política, esa identidad popular nueva.
2 years later, that new policy, that new identification has got sense, has made a new sense.
Positive sense, not only in the destituent way, in the destituent meaning, but also positive sense. Y aquí es donde entra Podemos.
And this is where Podemos comes in.
Los científicos sociales o los científicos políticos tenemos una fascinación por los objetos, por los casos que suceden lejos de nuestro país.
Political scientists love case studies that are away from where we live, not in our own countries.
Porque todo puede ser cierto a la vez. Podemos decir una cosa y la contraria y casi nadie nos va a rebatir en nuestro propio país.
Because everything can be true. We can say one thing and the contrary, and nobody in our own country is going to say otherwise.
Y Podemos se ha convertido en un objeto, en realidad en un significante flotante in itself.
Podemos has become in itself a floating signifier.
Así que hay un Podemos para todo el mundo y hay razones para que te encante Podemos por explicaciones totalmente diferentes.
So there's Podemos for everybody. There's reasons for you to love Podemos for whoever it is.
Hay mucha gente que dice que el éxito se debe a nuestra comprensión y el uso de las redes sociales.
A lot of people say it's because of the way we understand and we use social media.
Otros que somos una expresión directa, casi solo una traslación de los movimientos sociales a las urnas.
Some people say that we are just like a direct expression of social movements.
On the institutional politics. Y otros que hay un buen trabajo del marketing político.
And other people say that there's a lot of political marketing in it.
And that's the key to understand the success of Podemos. I will say on the contrary, well, not on the contrary, I'm sure there is a bit of reason in all of these approaches, but I will put the main attention, I will put the focus on the narrative creation of Podemos, on Podemos as a factory of metaphors. Lo expreso con una anécdota que compartí el otro día con unos compañeros en Londres.
I'm going to explain it through an anecdote that I was sharing with some friends in London the other day.
El otro día estaba en Madrid haciendo la compra en un supermercado.
I was in a supermarket in Madrid.
Y me paraba venía bastante gente a hablar o a pararme.
A lot of people was coming to talk to me.
Vino primero una trabajadora del supermercado.
First, someone who worked there at the supermarket.
Que me vino a decir que me dijo, bueno, cuando lleguéis al poder,
And she said to me, when you get to power,
no olvidéis lo más importante, no olvidéis una cosa muy importante.
don't forget what's most important, a very important thing.
Dado nuestro bagaje ideológico, uno pensaría que se iba a referir a sus condiciones de trabajo o a su salario.
Taking into account our ideology, I thought she's going to talk about her salary or the conditions, the working conditions in themselves.
Y me dijo, por favor, prestadle mucha atención a los derechos de los animales.
And she said, please pay attention, close attention to the rights of animals.
Porque de una comunidad autónoma a otra, la legislación sobre protección de animales cambia mucho.
Because the legislation from one autonomous community to the other is quite different between them.
Después y no es broma, vino el carnicero.
And this is not a joke. Then the meat butcher came.
Y me hay que hacer un paréntesis, que es que hemos ganado la alcaldía de Madrid, o gobernamos la alcaldía de Madrid.
There's a parenthesis here. We have won the mayorship of Madrid, so we got the mayor.
Y me dijo, me gusta lo que estáis haciendo, pero tenéis que cuidar más de Chueca, que es el barrio Bain.
And he said, I really like what you are doing, but you have to pay more attention to Chueca, which is the gay neighborhood.
Esas dos personas probablemente son votantes o simpatizantes de Podemos.
Those two people probably are the sympathizers of Podemos, or they vote for Podemos.
Aunque sus reivindicaciones tienen poco en común.
Although they have very little in common.
Y lo que les une es un pequeño y ambiguo lazo
What unites them is this very ambiguous and small link
que supongo que expresarían en términos de hace falta algo nuevo, hace falta aire nuevo o hace falta cambiar el país.
that I think they would explain us, but there's something lacking. We need something new. There's something that needs to happen for the country to change.
Diría que lo más importante es ese plus de sentido que articula reivindicaciones y demandas muy diferentes entre sí.
I think that's what's most important is that extra meaning in it that articulates a lot of different demands in one.
Y esto hace referencia tanto a la importancia de las metáforas nuevas producidas por nosotros y sobre las que ya todo el país discute.
And this refers to the new metaphors that we have produced and that now the whole country is debating.
Pero también a la introducción de la afectividad y de la pasión política que nosotros hemos puesto encima de la mesa.
But also the introduction of affection and political passion that we have brought to the table.
No soy una persona neutral para decirlo, pero hay una importantísima carga afectiva en una nueva forma de identificarse con la política. La gente en nuestros actos llora o se le pone la piel, no sé cómo vas a traducir eso, se le pone la piel de gallina.
There's a big affection, like charge of affection in where we are. People who come and see us cry, or sometimes they get goosebumps, and there's a lot of feeling around it.
Así que diría, y no sé cuánto tiempo llevo para calcular, vale. Así que diría que en realidad, para entender nuestra iniciativa política y la política española ahora,
So I'd say in order to understand our initiative, our political initiative and the politics in Spain right now,
es crucial prestarle atención, por una parte, a una lógica propia de la política,
it's essential to pay attention to, on the one hand, something that's proper to the politics in itself.
y es mejor acercarse desde un enfoque que le ponga el foco a la producción discursiva o al combate discursivo.
From an approach that focuses on the discourse struggle.
¿Dónde nos deja eso ahora? Y cierro con esto.
We'll see where that brings us, and I'm going to close with this.
En España se ha producido un importantísimo cambio en las explicaciones colectivas que los ciudadanos nos damos sobre nuestro país.
In Spain, there's been a huge change about the way in which citizens explain to themselves their collective explanations of the country,
Y sobre las aspiraciones y lo que consideramos legítimo.
and about the aspirations and what we consider is legitimate.
Como resultado de eso, los partidos tradicionales han envejecido siglos.
Because the traditional parties have aged a lot.
Y hay una lucha de sentido permanente por su parte, por la cual, una lucha como de péndulo, por la cual nos golpean, pero tienen que aceptar a toda velocidad los nuevos significados o explicaciones que nosotros ponemos en circulación.
And there's a constant struggle between them and us, whereby they're constantly hating us, but they have to accept the new meanings that we're giving to the whole debate.
Si viajáis a España ahora, veréis a los partidos tradicionales remangándose las mangas de la camisa, diciendo que hay que hacer nueva política, que los partidos están muy lejos de la gente o que las instituciones han sido sordas al dolor social.
If you go to Spain now, you will see traditional parties just talking about how institutions have not answered to the people, how we have to make a new kind of politics,
Y que las instituciones han sido sordas al dolor
and that
social.
institutions are not listening to the pain of the people.
De hecho, legislando y aceptando reformas que nosotros defendíamos hace un año y era una locura populista.
Legislating and accepting reforms that we used to talk about or defend a year ago, and back then they were called crazy, like a populist craziness.
Si me perdonan la excesiva audacia, quizás diría que no tenemos el poder político, pero marcamos una parte de la agenda de nuestro país.
If you forget me, the audacity, I would say that we don't have the political power, but we mark an agenda, a part of the agenda in the country.
Y nadie cree que los partidos políticos tradicionales tengan nada nuevo que ofrecer hacia el futuro.
And nobody thinks that traditional political parties have anything to add or to give to the future.
Cuando comenzamos a hablar del cambio político, los partidos tradicionales le tuvieron que poner un apellido al cambio.
When we started to talk about political change, the traditional political parties had to give it a surname.
Como dice, sí, al cambio.
The change had to give change some kind of surname.
Como diciendo, el cambio que ofrecemos es un cambio tranquilo, es un cambio sensato o es un cambio sin sobresaltos.
Defining that change, so saying that the change we offer is a quiet one that doesn't create any problems.
Es decir, van arrastrados por la dinámica política en lugar de llevar la iniciativa.
So the political dynamics pushes them forward instead of them having the initiative.
Ahora bien, las elecciones generales del pasado diciembre han cambiado en parte el escenario.
In December, the last elections in December changed a little bit that scenario.
Estamos en un punto que podría ser caracterizado seguramente por García Linera, aunque el otro día me dijeron que había un autor argentino, que en realidad el autor era argentino, pero esto siempre lo dicen los compañeros.
And we are at a point where that could be characterized by
García Linera,
García Linera,
que según me
that
han dicho es
according to some Argentinian people, it's characterized by some Argentinian author, but that's what they normally say.
Juan Carlos Portantiero.
This person is Juan Carlos Portantiero.
Estamos en una situación que describiría como de empate catastrófico.
We are in a situation that they would describe as a catastrophic tie.
Quienes acudían a las elecciones para bloquear el proceso de cambio
Those who used to go to the elections in order to block the change process
no han tenido la suficiente fuerza como para protagonizar una restauración del orden.
were not strong enough to cause the restoration of order.
Los que acudíamos para abrir un proceso de transformación progresista y democrática del Estado
But those who went to try to transform or create a process to transform the democratic state
no tenemos la suficiente fuerza para conducirlo.
don't have enough strength to create that, to drive it.
Y por eso la política española lleva 2 meses dando vueltas sobre sí misma.
And that's why the politics in Spain is just turning around itself. It's been doing it for the last 2 months.
Obligándonos a una situación de compromiso entre fuerzas que queremos ir en direcciones muy diferentes, pero que tenemos que intentar encontrar un punto intermedio.
Forcing different people to try to get to a commitment, but just forcing us to do it because we have to try to find a common, despite our differences, to find a common goal.
Quizá nuestro principal reto del momento
Maybe our main challenge right now
sea seguir manteniendo la necesaria lógica parlamentaria y política del acuerdo y del compromiso
is to maintain the necessary logic of the parliamentary logic of keeping agreement and commitment
con la lógica más plebiscitaria de construcción de una voluntad popular nueva.
with the other logic of building a new
Popular
will
A new
of the people.
in a plebiscitarian logic.
You know.
I don't know whether this is possible or not. To play on the same, on the track of the parliamentary politics and the politics of commitment and the politics of the el medio.
Means
and on the other hand, the politics of a radical frontier and the creation of a new popular will. Y no sé en qué medida vamos a ser
I
capaces
don't
de
know
hacerlo,
to what extent we are going to be able to do that.
porque estamos en una etapa intermedia del proceso de cambio español.
Because we are in an intermediate stage of the process of change in Spain.
Diría que nada de eso es describible ni entendible si no adoptamos un enfoque que le pone el peso de la explicación a la lucha por construcción de significados.
I don't think we can explain that or understand it if we don't adopt an approach that gives way to the signifiers.
Y que diagnostica la crisis política y cultural de la Unión Europea,
And that diagnoses the cultural and political crisis of the EU.
el espacio que crea o las condiciones que crea para una construcción populista de sentido,
The space and conditions it creates for a populist meaning, construction of sense or of meaning,
que reivindique la comunidad política,
that
the political community,
I can't say reivindicar.
Demands.
the demands,
No,
claims.
Claim back, sorry, that claims back the political demands.
Y creo que una buena lectura que hemos aprendido o que estamos viendo, por lo menos en el sur de Europa, es que si no reivindicamos nosotros el soberanismo, una cierta reivindicación de la identidad nacional y los valores comunitarios fuertes, lo harán las fuerzas reaccionarias.
And in southern Spain, what we've seen is that if we don't claim it back ourselves, then the revolutionary forces will do.
Si no reivindicamos, digamos,
If we don't claim
una
back
idea de la identidad
an
nacional,
idea of the identity, of the
national identity.
national identity of
I mean, I want to be
selves.
provocative on this
I
point.
want to be
National identity, communitarian values, and a certain idea of sovereignty. If we don't claim it ourselves, the democratic forces, it will be an open space for the right wing and the reactionary forces. So I will finish saying that there is an open situation not only in Southern Europe, but specifically in Southern Europe, but not only for populist situations. We have to play that match. And probably will be the landscape in which we will see the advances or the reactions for political change in Europe. And it is in our hand to decide if this political change is going to be towards more democracy, more social justice, or it's going to be towards a regression in our values, in our institutions, and in the distribution of social wealth. Thank you.
Thank you to Enrico. We have approximately 15 minutes, slightly less than 15 minutes, for anybody who would like to ask any questions about what's going on in Spain at the moment, or about the theoretical framework Enrico was deploying, or anything else. Yes, it starts here.
I just wanted to pick up on your...
There's a mic.
Ivor Gabing, University of Sussex. I wanted to pick up on your last remark about what you said was the urgency of the situation, if you like, in the democratic forces filling the political vacuum rather than the forces of reaction. Doesn't it mean you've got to urgently form a coalition with the socialists and even the right-wing parties in order to stop what you've just said happening? Is that going to happen? I know talks are happening. Can you tell us the result?
Let's go one by one for the moment.
Bueno, gracias por la pregunta. Como comprenderán, me reservo, digamos, las particularidades sobre la política española porque ya doy ruedas de prensa cada semana.
Thank you for your question. As you can understand, I will not share the particularities of...
Sorry for that. En España nosotros no tenemos una fuerza política de signo reaccionario.
In Spain, we do have a political force of a reactionary kind.
Digamos, una fuerza política reaccionaria. Tenemos un gran partido conservador que incluye todos, desde los liberales hasta los franquistas.
We have a very big conservative party that includes everybody, the liberal and the
To the Francoists.
franquists.
Por lo que respecta a la posibilidad de formación de gobierno,
about the coalition,
yeah,
the possibility
regarding
to
the
form
possibilities
of government.
an alliance to create a coalition cabinet or a coalition government, nuestra línea está siendo que estamos dispuestos a entrar en un gobierno del que podamos compartir las responsabilidades y el rumbo, no a ser arrastrados por un gobierno cuyo rumbo no marcamos.
We are willing to take part in a government where we can share where we're going, mark the route where we're going, not that's going to take us on board and take us wherever they want.
En la medida, sobre todo, en que la agenda principal de esta legislatura que se va a abrir va a seguir siendo los programas de ajuste que han sido relajados porque venían las elecciones, pero que van a volver con dureza.
Especially because right now what they're focusing on is on a legislation that because of the elections they made a little bit laxer. It's about the economy in the country, but now they're going to resume that again.
Estamos sin embargo intentando ese camino, intentando el camino de la conformación de un gobierno de coalición y de un gobierno progresista.
We are trying to find the way to coalition and to a more progressist government.
Y va a depender, como siempre, un poquito de nuestra virtud y mucho de nuestra fortuna.
It's going to depend a lot on our virtue and even a lot more on our fortune.
Actually, a little bit in our virtue and a lot of our fortune.
I have a question at the back over there, and to the left over here, and a third question over there. So yes, over there first.
Hi, I'm Brecht from Ghent University, Belgium. I wondered what lessons has Podemos drawn from the experiment or experience of Syriza with regard to the nature of the capitalist state in Europe, with regard to strategy, with regard to internal democracy, and with regard to the relation between parliamentary and extra-parliamentary action.
Okay. The lessons from Syriza, the first one is that politics in the state, radical politics in the states are extremely difficult. Second one is that we are a much stronger economy than Greece is, so our space for political and economic initiative is not very broad, but it's broader than in Greece. The third one is that sometimes when you confront the hard powers, social mobilization is just not enough. I mean, if you receive your funds, if your funds are cut or you are being blackmailed from the European Union, you can go on a strike like 100 times, but it's not going to solve the situation. And the third one is that, or the last one is that once you've won the elections, you haven't won at all, but the battle is just starting. And we have that classical contradiction in between, we all know and we can say in the seminar that the scale to solve the problem that finance capitalism has put to the European Union is a European scale, but you conquer the power, the political power at a national scale. So you can either say, I'm gonna remain waiting for the world change is coming, but it will never. So basically because you start by one country, and when you start you are alone, and you usually start by the countries that are more wrecked. We are not gonna receive Sweden. Because I'm very honest at this point. We only win in countries that are in a very a strange and a normal situation. And you have to deal with conditions that you will never have chosen, but those are the conditions you have. So we have an extreme urgency to create governments that can be solidary with the government of Greece. But I'm a bit optimistic since I think we will have, our economy is the fourth economy in the European Union. We're in a difficult situation, but we still have a much broader space for to maneuver than the Greece government had.
I've got 4 questions in 5 minutes. So, what I'm going to suggest is that we take all four together, if people don't mind. So starting over there, then moving across here and finishing at the back. And if you could be as succinct as possible, and if the question is already asked, please don't repeat, and then we'll give Eniko an opportunity to finish and bring the session to a close. So starting over there.
Thank you for speaking to us. I'm Ben from the University of Bath, and I wanted to ask, because you mentioned young people as a really marginalised and really depoliticised group, I wanted to know more about your strategies for involving young people, not just as a voice, but having power in politics.
I'm not sure I understood the question.
The two of you, one after the other.
Okay.
Okay.
So, hi, I'm Gabriela from Argentina. So, yes, it is Portantieros. And yeah, I just wanted to ask, like back in my country, there's like, I feel like a big part of your voters are called huérfanos de la política partidaria, right? So, I don't know how to say that in English. So maybe you're gonna lose a big part of that people if you negotiate with the socialists or the other party. I think not the other party. So I'm asking, is there like a strategy to go with for winning local governments before getting national negotiations? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paolo Spada from the University of Southampton, and I'm wondering how you manage the tension between multi-channel engagement, the stuff that you're describing, different messages that you're giving to different people, and the mandate you get from those people. Because that tension was really apparent in the Obama campaign.
And the last question over here.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name's David Lowe. I was very pleased to hear everything that Inigo has been saying, but I've been observing the situation in Spain, as a lot of people here, for a long time. I didn't hear you mention anything really about the extent to which support for Podemos is really a reaction against the arrogance of the two major parties, the level of corruption which was reaffirmed, and also the total lack of institutional responsiveness to citizens' real concerns, from the big crisis of the Ladrillo to all the other building corruption cases that have come up. As a result of that, it was quite evident that there was not just a dearth of response from the then political establishment, but the institutions themselves proved incapable of acting in response to the concerns felt by citizens. So what sort of institutional reforms is Podemos actually now looking for that could ensure that the principles and everything on which you have obtained so much support are sustainable in the Spanish institutional context by opening up the parliament in particular and opening up the regional assemblies?
So, Eniko, if you want to.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. For the first one, regarding the young people, I wouldn't say it's a problem of marginalized young people, but a crisis of expectancies. It's not that the young people is living on a, like very poor and very dramatic conditions. Some of them, of course, they are. But it's more the gap in between what you were promised that you were going to have and what you receive. So it's much more this cleavage in between the official discourse that was promising you that you were going to have a much better life, and the thing you receive at the end of your, all your studies and all your internships and everything like that. And it's in this gap where you have the space for political mobilization. I will say we have a very strong cleavage in our vote according to the age. We will win the elections in Spain if the voters were only those among 18 and 45. And we will be an extra parliamentary group if the voters were only from 65 in advance. Almost. Not extra parliamentary, but almost. I think what we have put in practice from a political point of view, not of course in the institution that we already rule, but in our discourse. I mean, because for the institution we already rule, there are public policies regarding participation of young people, regarding reconstruction or rebuilding cultural spaces and cultural institutions. But for the young people in our discourse, what are our politics? I will say we are regaining or reclaiming pride to be militant. And that is extremely important. A pride to be active in politics. We are making politics sexy, again, in Spain. But that's extremely important, because they were for 30 years. After the transition to democracy, the official narrative was like this, was saying, okay, we've made history, it's everything done, now just dedicate yourself to your private life, get a career, get a job, enjoy all the proliferation of our cultural and I don't know, in a very like cynical way, all this wave of depoliticization of the society, and all of a celebration of the individual and of the lack of links to any kind of communitarian value or any kind of communitarian engagement. And now we are in the other way back. We are regaining some kind of idea that you do have to be engaged, you do have to have an opinion on politics. I mean, you take a taxi right now in Madrid and you have a huge possibility of ending talking about politics. And that's something incredibly new. That's something, it simply didn't happen like 10 years ago, or even probably 5 years ago. So I would say, the main force of this movement, of this new, cultural reclaiming of the politics is about young people. Talking about the second question, talking about those orphans of the traditional parties, those who were lacking and distrusting the traditional parties. I have a lot of people stopping to me at the street and asking me for two contradictory things. But they express them as if they were possible at the same time. Please do not agree with any of the traditional parties. Please kick the conservative out. And I'm always like shocked, but at the same time terrified, because I can give you one of the two wishes, but not both at the same time. And that expresses also attention in our voters, and attention in between and that's related to the other. I think that's related to the other question. You can only the tension of the constituent or destituent vote, our vote que se vayan todos, let's kick them out. I don't trust any of the traditional parties, and also the voters that say I want a quiet change or ¿cómo se dice? Cambio paulatino. A gradual change. And of course, our political hypothesis fits or matches better with a presidential political system than with a parliamentary one. Because in a presidential political system, if you win by one vote, you win everything. So it's basically a plebiscitarian logic. In the one we have, you do have the necessity to get to engagement with some of the forces that at the same time that they recover some legitimacy negotiating with you. Because it's always like, okay, yes, we are the old political forces, we are the traditional forces, but we're talking. So at the same time, you can sit to the table and have a nice conversation in between politicians. So if I sit with you in the same table, at the end of the process, you look a little bit more like me, and I do the same. I get some of your new air, but at the same time, you get some of my old air. So so you have a space in the elite. You have always this danger of co-optation. So you always have to combine the institutional logics of politics and a more popular logic of politics, like subiendo la apuesta. No sabía cómo decir eso.
Upping upping the ante.
Or, betting the double, like putting the contradiction always on a superior level or on a higher level to try to escape that logic of capturing that the institutional system has, where they are waiting us. When we entered the parliament, we had our promises. Okay, sorry. When we entered the parliament, we have our promises. You just have to say, traditionally, you just have to say, okay, I promise, on the constitution I promise. And we make a whole, a different kind of protocol, of symbolic protocol that we were promising for the people, for the social justice, for constituent processes, with the hands and with everything. And that was more shocking for the traditional elites and the media than some of the laws we've proposed. Because even when the laws, they are radical, even when, and I'm not escaping the question of the institutional reforms, but even when those that you are proposing, they are very advanced or they are very radical, if you propose them within the channels, within the institutional channels, okay, welcome to the game. The problem is when you subvert the symbolical logic of how politics are made. And we were much more criticized just for the kind of promises. You can find them on YouTube, they're nice. We're much more criticized doing that than just promoting the institutional reforms that we. But that's always like a two-track strategy that we have to keep. We have to be solventes, how do you say so? Solventes, confiables en el sentido institucional.
Yeah, trustable, reliable.
Reliable from the institutional point of view, and at the same time, rupturistas.
And make a rupture disruptive.
I don't even know if that's possible, but we have to navigate that contradiction every time. And regarding the last question, you are right, you're definitely right, and I missed that point. The corruption in Spain was the link in between an extremely oligarchic economy based on the building and on the speculation and the party system. You always had that connection between the builder, the one that constructs the houses in your local in your local town, in your small town, and the councillor of the public obras públicas.
No.
Yeah, public works. So the corruption was that como el engrasante entre el sistema económico y el sistema político.
So the corruption was greasing the two systems, the political one and the building one.
Y el colapso de la economía de la corrupción ha sido el colapso de la política de la corrupción.
And the collapse of the economy has been the collapse of corruption.
El pinchazo de la burbuja del ladrillo ha sido inseparable del colapso de los partidos tradicionales.
When the building bubble burst, that you cannot separate that from the collapse of the traditional parties.
So we're basically saying we have to reform, in order to confront that and to democratize our political and our institutional system, we're saying we do have to reform the law about financing political parties, which is critical. We have to reform our electoral system, that is a system made to over-represent the rural areas over the urban ones. So for the traditional parties, that are the ones who win in the rural areas, it's much cheaper a member of the parliament than for us, but much cheaper, like 3, 4, or 10 times, some of the times. We do have to reform the relationship between the justice system and the government, because we have a problem with the separation of powers, and we've had an oligarchic capture of the 3, or at least the 2 powers. Sometimes some of the judges that they have to make researches on, on corruption, they do depend on the money or on the resources of the same who have to be investigated. So basically they cannot be condemned at any time, and we do have to change the relationship between the local powers, that was in the question there. We already won, we rule Barcelona, we rule Madrid, we rule Cádiz, we rule Compostela, Zaragoza, but our government put in practice, not our government in those cities, the national government has put in practice a political as well an economic strategy to cut and to control the budget of those local administrations. So in a way, actually, at the same time that we're having the national tensions in Catalonia and in the Basque Country, we're having a centralizing movement towards the control of national government of the budgets of local as well as regional administration. And we have to open the space for local administration to have, because if we don't change those national laws, they don't have a space, they don't have margin for progressive politics. And I'm afraid I have to.
Thank you very much.